Hi, folks. It's Larry Talks again. It is July 16th, 2017. And the topic of today's program is something I've been promising for a while, romance. I noticed I did another program on love, which was actually quite good. And on that program, I talked to, and I recommend again, The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. It's only like 125 pages, and he talks about the four loves in the Greeks, agape, eros, storge, and philia, and talks about the importance of friendship. And anyway, I recommend that, and the program that I've already done called Love I just reviewed it, and I thought it's probably better than this one. But I still thought I should do this one because I want to review two really, really important books in the literature of romance. The first one was written in 1940 by Denis de Rougemont, spelled Dennis. De Rougemont is spelled D-E, capital D-E, and then capital Rougmont. Love in the Western World was written in 1940, and it's surprisingly a readable book. It is available through Amazon.com for $15. So it's still in print. It's a classic. And what it is a review of Western literature. But this is serious stuff because our view of romance comes, he really describes better than any other source in analytical detail the history of the idea of romantic love in the Western world. And it starts with the three famous myths of the Middle Ages, Arthur, Tristan and Isolde, and what's the third one? Well, the King Arthur myths, all those stories. And here's the idea of romance. And again, you might not know this, but the Romance languages, do you know where they come? Do you know how the Romance languages got started? First of all, there was Latin, the Roman Empire. The Romance languages started in the Middle Ages because rich people living in their castles are falling in love with each other and writing bad Latin. The bad Latin becomes the Romance languages. Why? Because these people are writing romance stories about their lives, but they're not well educated and they can't write very well. And from that, we get French, Spanish, Portugal, Romanian, and Italian, all those languages. That's why they're called literally Romance languages, because the origin of these languages is secular people writing love stories to each other. And the famous ones that survive, which he talks a lot about in his book, Romeo and Juliet, I didn't mention that, the most famous of all. Now, there's an interesting theme in all these. The people fall in love. In Arthur, Romeo and Juliet, Tristan and Isolde is just another version of Arthur. And there's a French version of Arthur. In fact, there's a whole series of stories. But they end up, well, in the original form, the people fall in love, but they never have sex. Why? Because they're already married and committed. So the writing is all about the love that never gets consummated. And then what happens in all these stories? They die in the end. Romeo and Juliet and then there's this famous 20th century movie called The Love Story, in which the same thing happens. Guy falls in love, the woman dies in the end. Why do you die in the end? And then, of course, Woody Allen's big spoof on War and Peace called Love and Death. Why do you die in the end? The reason you die, that De Rougemont, when he takes you through this history, is you cannot survive romance. Because what is romance? Romance is the idea of falling in love. And even the Greeks said, there's this famous line from Antigone, it goes like this: even the just have their minds warped by thee, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, to their destruction. No one who is born for a minute can survive the goddess of love, Aphrodite. So the Greeks were well aware of falling in love. And that was a category which C.S. Lewis doesn't, I don't know if he talks about that, but he would call that just plain eros, but it's not eros. Falling in love is what the romance stories are all about. People really do fall in love. I don't doubt that. Now we get to the 20th century, and de Rougemont says it all ends with World War One. This is very interesting. There's a book called The Guns of August, written by a woman, and her thesis is World War One was fought for no reason whatsoever. There was no land contest. Nobody offended anybody else. It was all about the soldiers going out and dying for their wives. That's her thesis of The Guns of August. And this is what de Rougemont, he's writing in 1940, and he's saying the same thing. He says the soldiers in World War I went out to die for love. And that's why women have never been allowed to fight in war, because what would be romantic about that? Love has to end in death. The guy's got to die. You got to get rid of him. Romance always ends. Now I'm going to give you my take on this in the end. This is another book called A New Look at Love, a sociological book in the 60s, 70s. And it holds, just the statistics, sociological study, that 50% of people who get married in America today will be divorced in 2 years. 80% will divorce over a lifetime. Of the 20% that don't, most of them will cheat. Where's monogamy? There is no such thing as monogamy. It just doesn't exist. People, and I saw a documentary on marriages that last, and why do they last? Because people leave each other alone, not because they have sex. Because at some point they just say, "Leave me alone," and I'll leave you alone. I just remember the people saying, "Well, I love my wife because she lets me be me," meaning she leaves me alone. And those are the marriages that survive. So monogamy doesn't exist. Even factually it doesn't. Or mythologically, what bothers me most about the gay society is everybody's trying to imitate that and get into a monogamous relationship. Okay, I've almost done my time here, it looks like. And I just want to mention a solution. The solution, It Can Do by Martin Buber, I and Thou, written in 1928, an existentialist poem. And he says, yes, we all have romantic feelings, but we can have them about anything. The Buddha said the same thing. The Buddha said, look, the problem of human nature, and certainly everybody who ever falls in love, is dissatisfaction, because it's never satisfying. It never satisfies. What is the solution to never satisfaction? What is the cause? It's desire, obviously. You've fallen in love. That's the problem. What's the solution? The solution is to let go. That is to realize that the desire is not, it's real, but it's not what life is all about. And what happens when you let go? Well, you find real love, real romance. You fall in love with the universe. You connect with everything. So Buber says there is real connections, and real connections are a feeling of being connected, mutuality. I think, and to be positive about marriage, I find that people who mature in marriage and stay together, they stay together because they truly do love each other. They're probably not having sex anymore, but they really love each other. I've seen it in the gay community too. I've had sex with guys who say, I'll have sex with you, but I love my partner, and I would never, ever. I mean, for someone to say that to you, I mean, I didn't bring it up. He did. Why does he bring it up? Because he is committed, because he does love somebody. That's real love. That's real love. And it has nothing to do with sex. That's what I want to leave you with. And that's a mind-blowing idea. And that's what Martin Buber says in his book. He never talks about sex. He just talks about what real love is, this feeling of being, when you're with somebody, it fills the universe. The I-thou relationship is totally, totally absorbing. Whereas the I-it relationship is where we live most of our lives, and most romance becomes I-it at some point, and that's when you have to die. That's why you die in the end of the romance, because it's no longer romance. Um, but love, that's another thing. I'm not saying there isn't true love. There is true love. True love is founded on real knowledge of the other person, a real appreciation, a real respect, honesty, truth, and experience. So the idea of, I absolutely do not believe in love at first sight. I believe in lust at first sight, but not love at first sight. Love is something that is based on real knowledge and experience. And I really do believe love happens. It happens all the time, and it's everywhere in the world, and there are all kinds of people. And this guy, one of the questions asked of me, I'm going to end now, because this is a very important place to end. He says, well, wait a minute, you're forgetting monogamy is where sex really matters. No, it isn't. Where it really matters is love. Is when people commit themselves to loving one another. It's interesting, in the marriage ceremony, there's nothing about sex. It's about, will you love each other until you die? Well, what is that? It's love is that commitment of liking and mutual concern and knowing the honest truth and integrity of the other person. That's what love is. And that is everywhere. And that is what I'm advocating. And Martin Buber is a heavy book. It's a poem, and it's not that long, but you will understand more about the true meaning of romance if you read I and Thou. And if you want to know why monogamy doesn't work, just read Desrosiers' Love in the Western World. Romance in Desrosiers, and he's talking about the history of literature. He says it always ends up with death. I mean, the romantic idea cannot survive. But love, yes. What is love? Love is a mutual bond of two people who trust and know each other over time. That's love, real love. And as the great passage in St. Paul says, love believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Faith will die, we will die, but true love, which is agape, which means the intention to do the loving thing, will never die. It cannot. It's what it's all. That is, and I would say love is what it's all about, but we're very confused about what love really is. So my bottom line is, love is not about sex. Love is about a mutual trust, concern, knowledge of another person, and it's mutually accepted. That's real love. And that's something that grows over time. It has nothing to do with looks. I guess I could do a whole program on attractiveness and why that's important. I mean, I would agree with you that you can't, if you're not attracted to somebody, nothing could happen. I'm not against that. But I'm saying that that's not what love is. Never. That'll just get you in trouble. And the Greeks were right when they said, even the gods themselves have their lives in misery because the goddess Aphrodite works her unconquerable will. Nobody would deny the importance and power of attraction. I'm not discounting that. I'm saying it gets us in an awful lot of trouble, and we confuse it for love, and it's not what love is. Something else that takes a long time. I do not believe in love at first sight. So again, I recommend the book Love in the Western World by Desrosiers. But even more so, I was thinking The Four Loves by C.S. Lewis. It's only 120 pages, and he says exactly what I'm saying. He married a woman who was divorced and was not allowed to have sex, and he loved her, and that's what got him to write The Four Loves. That there is a bond between people that is much stronger than sex, and that's. But I don't like that either or. I don't want to promote that. I don't want to promote that people shouldn't have sexual feelings and so on, that they're not important. That's it, folks. I've gone over my time. And if you want to comment on this, it's Larry, Larry dot Moorman, Moorman, at AOL.com. I I always get comments, and usually the comments are just, "I really appreciated your program," and the person, they're not wanting me to, but that's nice. So I am getting feedback, and you're welcome. This is a very important topic, and I'm saying gays have to take responsibility for this concept of what is their view of love. And I'm not against monogamy, not against heterosexual marriage. I'm not against gay people getting married and adopting children. I'm just saying it's not the only option. It's not the only focus. That's all, folks.